Hey, everybody. Welcome to Grab a Stack of Rock and 50 Years of Iron Maiden. We are back with episode 20, and we are back with Jake, not from State Farm. Jake, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing wonderful, and I am honored to be back on Grab a Stack of Rock to talk more Blaze Bayley era Iron Maiden.
So, for those of you who've been keeping up with the series, you know that Jake was with us just a little while ago doing the X Factor with Blaze Bayley, and now he is back to complete the duo. We are doing Virtual 11 tonight. And Harrison, as you can see, is wearing his official Iron Maiden football swag. There you go. Now, Harrison, maybe before we dive into the facts and figures about this album, what's the connection between the football jersey and Virtual 11?
Well, Virtual 11, as it's pronounced, not Virtual XI, is thus named because it is the 11th album, but there are also 11 players on a traditional soccer/football pitch. I say traditional, I don't think there's any version of it with more or less than 11, unless you get red carded, but there are 11 players on a soccer/football pitch, and if you see in the corner there is a game going on because this was released in 1998, which was a World Cup year.
There you have it. So, Virtual 11, as Harrison mentioned, was released in 1998. It was recorded in late 97 to February of 98 at Barnyard, which is Steve Harris's studio, produced by Harris and Nigel Green with art that we have already seen by Melvin Grant, who is returning from Fear of the Dark. And the album was actually released on the 23rd of March of 1998. The album sold okay. Went to number 98 in Australia, number 60 in Canada. In France, it went to number 12, and in Finland, it went to number 6. In the United States, number 124. And in the UK, number 16. But this is the second of two albums with Blaze Bayley. It's a shorter album than the last one. If you recall, the three of us, we sat down and talked about 14 original songs last album. This time we only have 8 original songs. Jake, you're going to start us off. If there's anything you want to say about the album before we get going, otherwise we're going to start with the opening track, Futureal, written by Steve Harris and Blaze Bayley.
Well, I have a little bit of stuff to say. My intro to Iron Maiden happened in 2006. This is kind of an important thing. It'll play a factor much later on. I got into Maiden in 2006 when they were releasing A Matter of Life and Death with the video for the reincarnation of Benjamin Brigg was played on VH1 Classic a lot, and that was where I got into Iron Maiden. That was not the first album I bought by Iron Maiden. I think the first album I bought by Iron Maiden was Number of the Beast. Go seek out the classic. And then I ended up finding the Blaze Bayley albums shortly somewhere in there, and the Brave New World and Rock in Rio were very early purchases in my Maiden discography, and I've always viewed the X Factor, Virtual 11, and Brave New World as part of a trilogy. Like, I feel like they are a trilogy that goes together. They kind of like the Indiana Jones first 3 movies. This one is kind of the zanier, more fun, uplifting movie. Even though Temple of Doom is a darker subject matter, it's a lot of over-the-topness and zaniness. It's very lighthearted in nature. I think Reed Little said on your No Prayer for the Dying episode that hair bands sometimes take a step too far, and they're like, oh no, we went too far, we got to go back. Maiden kind of might have did that with the X Factor, and they went, we've gone too far, guys. This was too dark. This was too heavy. This was too progressive. Let's reel it back in. Let's go more classic Maiden, and this was the result, because it's more of a classic Maiden album. I feel like it's more pulled back in, it's more reined in, and then the climax, the zenith of this trilogy, The Last Crusade, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, is the Brave New World of is up for Iron Maiden, and then everything after that is just, you know, icing on the cake, you know, just kind of like the Indiana Jones movies. The next two are, you can take them and leave them. They're icing on the cake. They're good if you want them to be. And that's how I've always viewed these three Maiden albums. And so I just kind of wanted to get that out of the way before digging into Futureal. It's a song about the thinning veil between reality and virtual reality. Blaze would kind of touch on cyber reality subject matter on his fantastic album Silicon Messiah. And if you guys haven't checked that out, you absolutely need to either listen to it on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. It is a phenomenal album. I am shamelessly plugging that album. I love the Silicon Messiah, and my pimp hand is strong if you've not checked that album out. But yeah, Blaze will revisit that subject matter later in his solo career. Right off the bat, you hear this is kind of a more pulled back Maiden song. Steve Harris's bass isn't as clanky as it was on the X Factor. It's still got that Dee Dee Verny-esque clank, but it's more under the influence style Overkill clank, as opposed to maybe WFO and later Overkill clank, where it was very overpowering clank. Blaze's vocals are, I feel like they're great, they're on point, but he's not soaring to the heights he did on Virtual or X Factor with this song. It's a great song, but it's Bruce, you know, Bruce, when he was those later 80s albums where he didn't, some of those songs he didn't try and soar as high, like on No Prayer and Fear of the Dark. He wasn't reaching as high as he might have been able to. And I feel like Blaze is kind of staying in a more middle ground on this song, but I feel like it's a solid opener. It sets the stage for what this album's about. You just don't regret anything about this song.
You know, that's really interesting what you said about the trilogy aspect, because in a way, and this is something that we won't get into until we do Brave New World, but in a way that there is truth to that trilogy. But you'll have to wait and see, folks. We'll talk about that when we get to Brave New World. And I agree with what you said about how this album is kind of pulling back to a more straightforward Iron Maiden sound compared to the X Factor. I mean, most of these songs are a lot shorter, whereas the X Factor, they were pretty much all long. But this one here is one of the shortest Maiden songs in the entire catalog. It's just, 2 minutes and 55 seconds or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia says 3 minutes, but my CD player read 2 minutes and 55 seconds.
Yeah, I played it on Apple Music. I've played it on my CD player, and I've played it on my iPod, all in the leading up to this, and all of them read it around that 2 minutes and whatever you said. So
yeah. Now, what's interesting to me is this song's written by Steve Harris and Blaze Bayley, and I would have expected it to have co-written by Yannick Gers because of that riff, that you know, it's very tricky. So, you know, you assume Steve wrote that on his bass, basically, or heard it in his head somehow. I don't know how he writes. I really don't. I think he hears these things in his head and has to translate them to the band. But that riff, like, there's nothing like that on the X Factor.
Mm-mm.
So this is a kind of a cool throwback to a Maiden sound of the past. It's definitely one of the shortest Maiden songs ever. Definitely one of the shortest post Paul Di'Anno. Virtual reality, as you mentioned, it was all the rage in the 1990s, wasn't it? You know, there was that movie, The Lawnmower Man, for example, which was a really bad movie.
The Matrix.
The Matrix was still to come, wasn't it? It was 1999.
1999, but it would kind of, you know, cap off that virtual reality.
It did, right.
Like it would, again, be the zenith, you know, you wouldn't get a more pinnacle of virtual reality than that first Matrix movie.
I feel that Maiden kind of missed the timing on that because they kind of came in a little too late for that early 90s virtual reality, the Lawnmower Man wave. And they came in too early for the more cerebral stuff like the Matrix trilogy, but c'est la vie. That's how it goes. That's all I have to say about this track. Let's throw it over to Harrison.
I love this song so much. It's up-tempo and aggressive right off the bat. This should silence any critics of the X Factor right away because, yes, this is a far more traditional Iron Maiden album experience, just with Blaze Bayley on vocals. It's an awesome guitar solo, and Blaze's voice is still dripping with character, even if this album doesn't have as strong an identity as the X Factor. Now, about the construction of the song, in the Japanese liner notes, you get this little bonus thing here, which includes comments made by Steve about the writing of the songs, one of the few bits of these that are in English. And he says about Futureal that it was an idea that he'd had for quite a while, but hadn't worked into a full song until the writing for the album started. It was him, he came up with the musical and vocal melody lines, and then Blaze came in and put the lyrics down.
Thank you for that insight. That's really cool to know. Great song. Now, the controversial first single. Let's take a look at it. The Angel and the Gambler, CD number 1. And The Angel and the Gambler, CD. No, I like that cover a lot more right there. Voodoo Queen is the name of the ship. That's an old, like, Mississippi-style riverboat. This is a song about gambling. We'll just take a good look at the single here because we're going to see Harrison's jersey. Well, not the exact one, but you see the connection. They're wearing their Iron
Maiden did also go out with their own like proprietary football team that then they'd play charity matches in the shows that they.
Jake's got it.
In the cities in the shows that they play. I even do believe that some famous British individuals, footballers and otherwise, would also make appearances in the team.
That's my understanding as well. There's some postcards in here. We'll just take a quick look at them. I like this artwork. Look at that artwork.
I have a question about the postcards. What was Maiden's absolute obsession with postcards in the mid to late 90s? Like, you look at all the... I have a single. I can't remember which one it is. It's in that box I was telling you up in my crawl space. I don't remember which Maiden's. I think it's a Virus one. But it's got postcards too. And Maiden was like, that was their thing. Oh, let's do postcards, man. Like, was that something I'm not getting that was like a trend that other bands were doing?
Lots of bands did that. I have, going back to 1988, I have a Bon Jovi single with postcards. And right around the same time as Maiden were doing this, Def Leppard did a bunch of singles for the Slang album that came with postcards. So yeah, this was a common thing, especially in the UK, giving you something extra for your money when you buy the singles. Now, I said this song was controversial. Jake, I believe you were counting something.
That was Harrison.
That was me who was counting.
Oh, that was Harrison. Okay, so we'll wait till we get to Harrison.
You forgot to show off the single art for Futureal, by the way. That came first. That also came with a cool poster that you can see. I've used part of it as the backdrop for the show art.
There you go.
And as I sort of alluded to in the Somewhere in Time episode, that illustration or render of that Cyborg Eddie on the front cover is actually missing Derek Riggs' signature on the sternum chest plate. They instead have a different symbol because it was presumably not created by Derek Riggs. And yes, that poster was created by Derek Riggs. There's the full thing.
I love that. It's kind of invokes Power Slave a little bit, but very futuristic.
Absolutely it does. Intentionally, I say. But on to Angel and the Gambler.
Can I nominate Harrison go first? Because I would like to know his facts.
Let's do that.
I'll just give you my full thoughts of the song first. For once, I will say I do like the song, though admit that it's a bit long and repetitive. However, I like Blaze's voice, so for me, despite the chorus being repetitive, it is also a great showcase of what I love about Blaze's voice. Like, as I said offline, like if this was Kate Bush singing the song, I'd have a very different reaction. But I like Blaze's singing. Now, Steve also said that he thought about this song on the M4 motorway. The idea came to him, and he said it sort of felt reminiscent of like The Who and UFO to him. And I can actually hear that. There's bits of it where it's like, oh, that feels reminiscent of You Better, You Better, You Bet. So a lot of people were like, huh? Who is he listening to, sort of thing. But I can actually hear that. But the massive many elephants in the room is that the chorus is incredibly repetitive. Now, I had prior to this show, I had heard a rumor. Somebody on YouTube had commented somewhere that said, "Well, the chorus actually repeats 21 times, making it a perfectly legitimate reference to blackjack." So I just assumed, yeah, that sounds about right. But in the prep for this show, I wanted to do my fact checking, so I sat there and I counted and I tallied every time the chorus was repeated. It's not 21; it's 22 times. Drive me up the wall because it could have been a perfectly good reference to blackjack. Except then I thought to myself, well, maybe that's the point. Maybe the guy in the story gambled and he lost. That's why it's 22, because 22 is a losing hand in blackjack. But then you see each chorus consists of 3 lines, which are variations of "Don't you think I can save blah, blah, blah." So when you get 22 and you multiply it by 3, you get 66. So there are 66 instances of the line, "Don't you think I can save X?" And, 66 is, of course, execute order 66. It's the devil's number minus 1 digit. So there are a couple of inferences to what they meant by that many chorus repetitions.
Harrison, if I may interject, what I'm hearing here is a lot of coincidence. And that
Yeah, I'm like the guy in that thing who's
Yeah.
like got all the string up on the window, and I'm just like, yeah.
Right. I was just about to say that you're the aliens guy. But thank you for that
Satan.
actual numerical analysis. It sounds like it sounds like 2 very near misses. They could have done something to do with the number 666, or they could have had something to do with the number 21. But it is, in fact, a song about gambling, and it is, in fact, written solely by Steve Harris, and it is, in fact, 9 minutes and 51 seconds long. So, Jake, go ahead.
Harrison's over there like the 1980s and 90s televangelist. Pokemon will cause your kids to be devil worshippers because a kid had a seizure and this kid murdered someone and he had a Pokemon card in his pocket.
There's summoning demons in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah,
That's more the
it's
2000s.
a coincidence, but that's what it reminded me of. I like how we all drew different conclusions to that. But anyway, I'm in the same boat with Harrison. I love Blaze's voice, and I feel like it kind of showcases his voice. I said that if it was Billy Corgan, I would want to drive nails through my ears and eyes if I had to listen to this. But it's not. It's Blaze Bayley. It does get extremely repetitive after a certain point. You should play a drinking game, and every time he repeats himself, take a shot like an AC/DC song. Because it gets that level of repetitive. But the thing is lyrically it's repetitive. Musically, I feel like it's got nice, interesting guitar riffs and guitar screams and bass ups and downs, and the drum beat is there's variations here and there. It's got more variation music-wise than it does vocal-wise, but it's still ungodly repetitive, and the bridge is one of the worst bridges on the planet. Like, I hate this bridge. It's nothing but repetitive drivel, and take the bridge out. This song is amazing. Someone should have slapped Steve and said, no, the bridge has got to go, but we got a good song on our hands without that bridge.
I mean, there is the single edit of the song, which cuts it down to like 3 minutes something, which is what they used for the music video and whenever they performed it on TV. So
the music video is perfection to this song. It's late 1990s video game garbage, and I love it. But that's pretty much my my thoughts on the Angel and the Gambler. It's the song goes on longer than some people. I've seen some CNAs go on in their chosen field. We call those people Bic lighters because you don't know what happened to them. They're here today, gone tomorrow. You're not sure if they burnt out or someone stole them or where they went. They just disappear. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on this song. Harrison summed it up better than I could.
Which leaves me with the scraps at the end.
There's lots of scrap.
Basically, what I wrote is that this is Maiden go classic rock, but they needed someone in the production booth to say, "Hold on, guys, this is too long." Is this Steve Harris on keyboards himself? I think it might be. It's a pretty simple keyboard part.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, Steve handled keyboards on this album.
Which is cool.
And
He,
so, just to say, if you hold up that single art, not the riverboat art again, because I just thought of something. I do believe this is the first time we were seeing what would go on to become the Ed Hunter Eddie on an artwork.
back when the game was still
Ed
called
Hunter.
Melt.
Yes, Ed Hunter being the video game that would release the following year.
Yeah.
That we will touch on shortly in the series.
And incidentally, that music video for Angel and the Gambler is on the CD single for Futureal. But there it is. That was back in a period of time when, streaming music videos, there weren't a lot of websites out there. It was usually the band's official site, or you could buy the CD single and pop it in your computer, and your computer would choppily play it and load it. But as Jake said, it's a pretty iconic music video. Very CG. It looks like they're in the middle of a video game, and it's Blaze gambling against Eddie, and Eddie loses his temper, as I recall, and gets really big. But it's really cool because it's got that kind of Star Wars Cantina vibe that Maiden have gone with before. So, I give the music video a thumbs up. Harrison mentioned the single edit. We may as well talk about it at this point. I wrote that the single edit is 6 minutes and 1 second long. It's still too long. I can't believe that this was the single, that this track was the single. I guess it was very accessible considering it's more classic rock than Maiden, but the length and the repetition. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Steve and Rod had an argument about it being the single. Steve was a major proponent for it being the single. And if the single edit is actually 6 minutes long, then that means that there's a third edit, which is the music video edit, which is the 3 minutes and something. So there's actually 3 different lengths of this song.
Good point. And if you count that,
imagine listening to them all back to back, that would be like 20 minutes.
There you go. But you can get them all.
Empire of the
on
Clouds.
That CD single. Empire of the Clouds, yes. Okay, so we're moving on to the track 3. Lightning Strikes Twice. The first Dave Murray co-write with Steve Harris. 4 minutes, 49 seconds. Go ahead, take it away, Jake.
Okay. It's kind of soft and gentle to power. It starts soft and gentle before going powerful and then coming in with these tender guitars. I feel like it's a very classic Maiden where it showcases their musicianship. But when they kick up the tension, they do so in this song without up kicking the tempo and adding lots of measures or anything. It's very masterclass, and let's keep the beat consistent, but we're going to increase the ferocity in this song. And Blaze's voice goes full powerhouse on that. Nightwish also does a really good job of kicking in the intensity without kicking in more measures. And I absolutely love this about Maiden. So many times bands feel like let's add measures and go faster and play more when we don't necessarily need to. We can just keep going at that same pace and make it a little more intense. The solos are classic Iron Maiden. They're not the X Factor where it's that more muted, subdued solos of the 90s. They got that classic, screaming, but they're not that excessive 80s flashy, flary solos. This is very indicative of we're pulling things back to a more classic Piece of Mind style Number of the Beast era Maiden sound than what we had on the X Factor, and I really like this.
I think this song is kind of indicative of the general direction of the album now that we get going. It has a certain darkness to it. But, you can break the song down, and there's 4 distinct parts to it. There's that opening part, that gentle part, that... And then there's the part where you said, as it picks up in intensity without picking up in tempo. And that's the... In the roaring of thunder that scares you... And then we have another part, that the fast part, before we get into the whole sky glows, maybe lightning strikes twice. And I love Blaze's approach on this chorus, the maybe lightning strikes twice. You could picture this song doing very well in a live setting. Mm-hmm. However, To be critical of it, I found it again a bit too long, even though it's only 4 minutes and 49 seconds. I found that it was just too much of the repetition of that maybe lightning strikes twice hook. Personal opinion, I could have used a few less of those. But I mean, it's only 4 minutes 49 seconds, so I guess they probably already did cut it down from a longer length earlier. Anyway, that's how I feel about Lightning Strikes Twice. I think it's a great tune, and I think it's the first song in the album that kind of represents the album. Go ahead, Harrison.
Right. I love the song. The intro's great as it sort of builds in intensity and heavies up. And then, of course, it's got this great chug when it gets going after that intro. I'm not sure that the chorus was the right decision for a man of Blaze's range, but he makes it work the best he can. I don't think it's bad. I just sort of, like, when I first heard it, I raised an eyebrow, like, really? That's the direction you're going? Okay. It doesn't sound too bad. This song was actually quite hard to sing live because when they did it in the studio, of course, they didn't like bit by bit pieced it together. When they did it live, Blaze found that they didn't actually really leave much time for breaks to take breaths between the lines. So he was finding that it was one of the more difficult songs to sing live, which is not what he expected.
Interesting. Thanks for that insight, Harrison. Okay, so now we close side one. 8 songs, 4 each side. And this is a Harris epic, 906. There was a big movie that was out at this time called Braveheart. So why not adapt that into a song? Freedom, Jake from State Farm. Not from State Farm.
This song sucks so much. No, this is it starts off with that acoustic bass intro, which is tender and sweet and played with so much soul. And if you've ever seen them do this live, it is one of the coolest things. Like, you don't need to have a Maiden brings the kitchen sink when they do a show, but that was one of the coolest things to see Steve just, you know, I'll take, if I get Alzheimer's and I can't remember half the stuff in my life, that'll be one of the things I take with me, is watching Steve play the intro to the Clansman and seeing my dad loves the song, seeing my dad's face light up as Steve plays that intro. And then Blaze's vocals come in and they're very hushed and somber and silent, but they grow with such intensity as they bring it up and up and up, but they slowly bring it up. Each time it comes back around, each time a measure comes around, he brings the intensity a little bit more, and then freedom, free. And this is where I have issues with people that say Bruce Dickinson is a superior singer than Blaze Bayley. He's a more operatic singer, but Blaze Bayley is anthemic. The way he bellows freedom, that's a rallying cry. The way Bruce bellows freedom, he's operatic with it. Blaze is rallying you. You want to get behind this man. You want to follow him. You want to charge with him. Whatever his cause is, I don't care what it is. You want to follow that guy into battle as he's bellowing freedom. You know, he's got that deep, husky, anthemic voice. And I mean no disrespect to Bruce, because he's a completely different style of singer, but Blaze invokes a different feeling when he says it to me. Like, I turn it all the way up. I want to pound my chest with Blaze. I love it. And then the solos are emotion filled. They cry, they feel tender, they don't feel showboaty or excessive in any way. They don't feel out of place. I love what they do with these solos. They don't go on excessively. The song, I don't feel like once drags on, even though it's 9 minutes. When it ends, I find myself like, I kind of want to go back and listen to that song again. And it's one of the rare songs when I listen to a live version with Bruce, I immediately want to listen to the version with Blaze. I don't have that with, like, I love the Sign of the Cross with Bruce. It's a different feeling, but when I hear Bruce sing any of Blaze's songs, I don't necessarily feel the need to go listen to the Blaze version. With the Clansman, I immediately want to go listen to this version because Blaze has such an anthemic, bellowing war cry to his voice.
I really like what you brought up about his whispering voice at the beginning of the song when we're just getting started and it's that very delicate and Blaze is just whispering, to be free. And this is something that he did on Sign of the Cross. Wash my sins away. And he's really good at that, and I'm glad to see that maintained in the Clansman. I think this is considered one of the best songs of the Blaze era in general by Iron Maiden fans. That's one reason, I guess, why it was continued on in the Bruce era. Bruce did it great live, but I think this is a Blaze song. I think, this is 9:06, so it's the second longest song in the album, but I think this is a long song that is worthy of it. I think that to see this version live, I'm very jealous to be able to yell freedom with that Maiden crowd. That would have been awesome. I think that had they continued forward with Blaze, they had a viable path to the future here with this direction that they were going on in Clansman. And I think it's a great way to end side one of this album. Harrison.
Right, I love this song, but I do have a few nitpicks with this version. Like, similarly to how I felt about the studio version of Fear of the Dark, this version of the Clansman just sounds a bit too polished for me. It's a bit too smooth. All the rough edges sanded off, particularly to do with more the guitar production there. But except for this one bass motif that Steve does, it's the dill 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 dill. At the very end, it sounds like he messes up, like he's there's these fully formed notes for most of it, but then at the very end they're sort of just like turn into a mush of sound for half a second. Like it's like it's hard to discern what he's playing, and he doesn't play it like that live. On Rock in Rio, he plays every single note of that bass part, and it's all fully formed. It's just unique to the studio. Honestly, I'm not a bass player, but it sounds to me like he messed up and it was just left in there. But Blaze's freedoms, we've talked about it. They're incredibly powerful, probably more powerful than Bruce, even though Bruce goes higher. But I will be the contrarian here and say that I do think Bruce's version on Rock in Rio is the superior version of this song, but that is not 100% to do with the vocals. It also has a lot to do with the instrumentship, particularly the production and the playing. I prefer the slightly more unchained version that you find on Rock in Rio.
I know the exact bass part that you're talking about. Do 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 do, and it feels like he's playing like two notes at the same time, or he should be. And it does sound like it's
mush up and cancel each other out.
Yeah, and I think that was intentionally left in for whatever reason, for feel. But there you go. I agree with you fully.
It's an add tension moment at the end.
Yeah. Okay, side 2. Opening track, Murray Bailey Harris, 6 minutes, 13 seconds, based on the old 1951 science fiction movie When Worlds Collide. Jake, take it away. When Two Worlds Collide.
It has this ticking intro that sounds like a clock. And I've never seen the movie. Mike told me that the movie is basically about what this song is about, which is two planets about to collide. I go back to Queensryche because I've been a Queensryche fan as long as I can remember. But Jeff Tate was very he gave you movies in your head when he would sing, and he would act them out, and he sang with emotion, and you'd play the parts when he would sing. And this was something he would do as far back as the EP. And so it's something that this song's always invoked with me, was Blaze kind of channeling his inner Jeff Tate, where he's playing the role in this movie and telling you this story and acting it out with his voice. And he does a phenomenal job. And Bruce does it too all the time. But again, I go at Queensryche because that's what I was raised on. That was my first experience with it. So it always harkens back that Jeff Tateism. I really like that about this song. It's a very unique take, and it's something Blaze really shines here. Like, you see it, people slander Blaze so often on, he's not a good singer. He was a bad fit for Maiden. He just didn't stand up to Bruce Dickinson. And then you come across a song like this and you're like, are you sure about that? Have you really listened to the Blaze Bayley albums? Have you actually dug into them? Because this is like showcasing everything that Maiden can do, and Blaze's voice, again, he's phenomenal on here. You get one of the things I did notice on here is Nico's drums, the sound, are a huge downgrade from the X Factor. I think the tone is not quite as and then you have that uptick in quality that pops back up on Brave New World. I feel like him and Steve brought the clank back with a vengeance, and Nico's drums are perfection on Brave New World, whereas they're kind of all lulled again here. It's that middle act slump. Oh, we went too far this way. Let's bring it back to what we're known for here. But I the solos on here are fire too. I think the solos on this song are the best on the album. I really like these solos, and it's got the best gallop on the album. Steve has that, gallop throughout here, and there's some really clean guitar work. Again, I feel like when people slander the Blaze Bayley album, Blaze Bayley era, have they listened to When Two Worlds Collide? Have they really, really listened to this song? Because it captures, I think, everything that makes Maiden great.
You've mentioned the guitar solos in this album a number of times, and I've neglected to mention them, so I'm just going to take a moment to say, I think, as far as the Gers-Murray guitar duo goes, I think Virtual 11 is the peak of their guitar work together. I especially felt that way on Angel and the Gambler. There's some really great stuff on that where they're just kind of cutting loose and playing very early style Iron Maiden solos. So yeah, everything about this album, there's some great stuff by Dave Murray and Yannick Gers. And I will repeat myself. I think of the Gers-Murray duo years, this is the peak of their guitar playing together. I love this song. Like I said, my dad saw the movie in the theaters and he was really struck by it. The special effects for that period of time were pretty good. The idea is that there's another planet and it's coming towards the Earth, and it's actually a sun and a planet that are coming towards the Earth, and the sun's going to collide with the Earth and they have to escape. So they build a spaceship, and there's a lottery for who gets on the spaceship, and you can imagine all the drama that happens on Earth before they escape. But my dad said the most striking moment of the movie, and the one that sticks with him today, is when they land on this alien planet and it's habitable, and they step outside the spaceship and look upon the new landscape for the first time. And there's this beautiful countryside with a lake and a river and these pink topped trees. Just to give you a hint that this isn't Earth. The trees are pink. So that's When Worlds Collide from 1951, which included in its cast John Hoyt, who ended up playing the Doctor on the Star Trek pilot, The Cage. Anyway, I really like this song. There's one line, the geekiness in me, because I took astronomy in university. The geekiness in me loves the line, for the 100th time I checked the declination. Is that the first time that the word declination has been used in music? Maybe in heavy metal specifically. It's an astronomy term. This is the best that I can do. I cut and paste from Wikipedia. One of the two angles that locate a point on the celestial sphere in the equatorial coordinate system. It measures the angular distance of a celestial object north or south of the celestial equator, similar to latitude on Earth. I would have been able to explain that when I wrote my exam in 1993. Couldn't explain it to you now. But I love that they, probably Steve Harris, I love that, the geekiness, the astronomy terminology, it's there. And as Blaze says, there are no errors in my calculation. Even my computer shows. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, an astronomer has found this object that's going to wipe out Earth, and the song is about when two worlds collide. There'll be nowhere to hide. Harrison, over to you.
What a song. Love this song. Like you said, how many songs are you going to hear the word declination in and also have it sound awesome? You've got as well another awesome set of solos on here. But even though it's like a longer song, I sort of consider this song a pair with Lightning Strikes Twice, partly because they're both Dave Murray co-writes. It's got this post-solo like whoa, 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 whoa section with this sped-up finale that keeps the song fresh even into those latter minutes.
Okay, so now we go into a song. Well, I'll say it later. But The Educated Fool, written by Steve Harris. 6 minutes, 46 seconds. Jake.
The Educated Fool is an attempt at playing it safe. It never wows or rises above. It's being it's a solid track, I feel like. It does nothing to wow or excel. The pulsing rhythm and it's an amazing intro are highlights, and Nico shines on this song. But this song is an attempt at bringing it as back to Maiden basics as it can get. And I feel like I'm slandering this song hardcore, but this song is very much like, oh God, what's the song you guys slandered so hard with Melissa? Quest for Fire.
Quest for Fire.
Yes, and that song has such, I feel like a kid when I listen to that with the silly childish lyrics and whatnot. This song really reminds me of that. It does nothing to rise really above for me, but I'm not saying it's a bad song. I don't want people to think that, but we have to fill out the album, guys. This is going to be here. Let's not take any time to see, okay, can we really do this or stretch it out this way? And I feel like I'm slandering it, but Maiden's average song is here. A lot of other people's average songs are right here, okay? So it's still a good song. You know, they have a couple that stoop down to here, but this one's still up here, but it just doesn't do anything to jump out at me in that grandiose fashion, really, except that Nico really shined on here and the intro are highlights for me. I don't skip this song. I don't have a bad time, but it just does feel like they were like, okay, guys, let's put something on the album that's as classic and plain as we can get.
And I'm going to contrast Jake by saying that this is my favorite song on the album. I love everything about it. I love that little opening, that little snaky that really nice soft guitar picking. And then Blaze comes in with, again, sort of like the quiet singing. I'm an educated fool. And then it picks up again without picking up in tempo, just picking up in intensity. I never felt this way before. Oh man, I love Blaze's performance on this. I'll tell you about a magical night that I had in 1998 that may be shading why this is my favorite song in the album. But it was my first time living away from home. I'd moved in with my best friend Trevor, and we had a basement apartment, and I just got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas that year. And GoldenEye, remember GoldenEye? So we were very competitive, Trevor and I, trying to beat each other's GoldenEye scores and go further than the other person. I had the Rumble pack. And I remember he was out one weekend night. Yeah. Remember that thing?
And then Odd Job with the hat. You had Odd Job in there as a bonus character.
Yeah, but I never got to the bonus levels. I was in the Russia level, specifically the night that I'm talking about. I was in the Russia level. And I had two new albums that came out at roughly the same time. It was Blackmore's Night and Virtual 11 by Iron Maiden. And I turned off the Bond music and had Virtual 11 playing. And I'm playing in the Russia level in that Bond game. And just something magical happened, especially during Educated Fool. It was, some people use drugs to get high and have these kind of mystical experiences. I just needed pop chips in a bar, as they say, and a video game and some Iron Maiden music. And I had this kind of mystical moment where I'm sneaking around the graveyard in Russia, or Statue Park, I think they called it. Statue Park. In GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 on a Saturday night at home by myself with the lights turned low and maybe some candles on. And I'm telling you, man, it was that moment that I really appreciated Virtual 11 and The Educated Fool. I love the song. I also noted there's something really interesting on this in this song. You remember in the last album that we talked about together, The X Factor, we mentioned that Steve Harris was going through some difficult times. He had gone through a divorce and he had lost his father. There's a line in the song, "I want to see my father beyond." So it's still there. It's still in the lyrics. I love this song. Time will go and I will follow. The hook is very strong. It is a little repetitive, but I think that's a magnificent hook. I love how big it is. Time will go. Love it. Harrison, you're the tiebreaker. You have to tell us which one of us is right on The Educated Fool.
Yeah, I like this song. In fact, not only do I not skip it, I in fact once paused it so that I could go out and retrieve the mail. The mail, mind you, was Beast Over Hammersmith. I paused it so that I could retrieve the mail without missing any of Virtual 11. And I got it back inside and I resumed the album. So I love the building intensity in the intro. The pre-chorus has this real choppy melody that's cool, even though it's not the best flow. Blaze really makes it work with his performance. And that chorus vocal harmony is really unique sounding. Not just for this album, but for Iron Maiden's discography. I can't name another chorus that sounds like this one.
Man, I just want to hear the song again right now. I just want to play it. But we can't play it, folks. I'm sorry. Okay, we're heading in towards the end of the album. We have another Harris solo write, 8:11, 8 minutes, 11 seconds. Don't look to the eyes of a stranger, Jake. Do you agree?
They had Virus sitting around. They had Nomad that they had allegedly written. They had Blood Brothers.
And 3 other songs.
And they had Mercenary, and they had what is my favorite Iron Maiden song, Dream of Mirrors. And they give us don't look into the eyes of a stranger. Is this really the best this is what I ask myself, is this really the best you guys had at this time? I mean, is this really, really the best you guys could come up with? This song is like sex. It starts out slow, building with a start with lots of exploring and ups and downs before it settles into a steady and repetitive rhythm with lots of clank. And I don't mind clank. I love Dee Dee Verney's clanky tone. I love the clank. But this song falls into that repetitive nature of let's be as repetitive as we can. And it gets kind of, don't look into the eyes of a stranger. Don't look into I question that. Is this really the best they could have done with this song when they had these other tunes that ended up on Brave New World? They could have thrown Virus on there, which I think is a phenomenal song. And you get Don't Look Into the Eyes of a Stranger. I think it's the dud on this album, but that's, and I'm slaughtering this song. I know, I can tell by Mike's face, but that's my honest opinion.
Well, you know, Jake, I don't actually feel like that strongly as my face was implying. I'm surprised more than anything. I like the strong keyboard accents on this album, on this song. What I both love and laugh at, though, is what I call the heavy metal polka section at the end, where they go full on Spinal Tap. It's total Spinal Tap. It's total Stonehenge. To me, like I said, it sounds like heavy metal polka. I don't mind it. It's fine. I don't think it's necessarily one of Iron Maiden's finest moments, going heavy metal polka at the end there. I can't shake that Spinal Tap feeling, but I don't hate this song or anything like that. I don't dislike it. I don't necessarily think that Nomad or one of those tunes is necessarily better, but I don't know. I like it. It's appropriate for this point of the album because we're going into a very unusual closer next, which is we'll get to. But yeah, I think this is a good album cut. I have no issue. Harrison, over to you.
Right, for me, this song is awesome from the off. That sludgy intro riff groove, that and it later sort of that same melody becomes this chorus motif that is basically intertwined throughout the whole song. I love the bounce that chorus had, particularly Blaze's performance. Like he throws in little variations there where there's this one where he says, "Don't look to the eyes of a stranger," and so on and so forth. Like, I'm not sure that we needed a stylistic reprise of that soft Angel and the Gambler, like hushed bridge section, because you get one of those in here too. But I haven't seen Spinal Tap, so for me, that manic solo section immediately afterwards is great.
Don't look too. Don't look too.
Yeah,
don't look too. I just want to take a moment here to just point out to the audience here that Harrison has not seen Spinal Tap. Now, it's playing in theaters right
Wayne's
now.
World is where,
okay, but that's fine. Wayne's World.
Wayne's
World, no big deal, but Spinal Tap's really important for you to see. And Johnny
Wayne's
Klauser,
World's important too.
Yeah, but I think Spinal Tap is more important, especially for the kind of music that you and I love. But Johnny Klauser went to see it in the theaters for its 41st anniversary showing, and just put that in your pocket, Harrison. I think this is something that you should watch and that we should discuss in a future episode. All right.
This is Australia, so there's no guarantee that it's going to come to theaters here.
True, but we both know there's ways to watch films online. Anyway, we'll drop it. We'll leave that for another day because we are heading into the very unusual closing tune, Como Está Amigo. This is a song written, the first Yannick Gers writing credit on this album. I just want to take a moment to point that out. It's the first Yannick Gers writing credit on the album that he was all over the X Factor. So he's gone from dominating an album to one single writing credit with Blaze. So Jake, this is an unusual closer. Tell us about Como Está Amigo.
This is really an unusual closer. It's not fire. It's not intensity. It's the intro is dope though. It's sad. It's hollow. It's beautiful. It's about the soldiers that died on both sides in 1982, I believe. Or was it 1882? 1982 is what I have. Is that right, Harrison?
1982, because it was Thatcher. Yeah, it was Margaret Thatcher that was involved in the Falklands War, if I have my British history correct. And she was early 80s.
Yep.
And it's the Falklands War between Britain versus Argentina. War will make corpses of us all, guys. Again, we come back to that. Blaze shines here. His baritone is great. The solos cry. They're sad. They're not inappropriate like what was it that I mentioned on the X Factor where I feel like they're terribly inappropriate. It's catchy. Blaze is catchy. He's got a catchy beat and it gets stuck in my head. It's super catchy. What Blaze does on this is biblical. There's a biblical live version of this on Damaged, Strange, and Different live. I love that version. If you've never seen Blaze do this live, you need to go look it up on YouTube. The man is phenomenal with this song.
Well, I'm going to be pedantic. You won't be seeing him because it's audio only.
Yeah,
but
hearing him. But it's biblical. Again, if you haven't noticed, I oppose these people that slander and talk trash about Blaze, and he's not Bruce Dickinson, and he's not as good a singer as Bruce, and he's not this and he's not that, and Bruce was Iron Maiden. What Blaze does with this song is spine-chillingly, biblically good, and the bass intro is sick. Blaze sounds so good on this. Like he gets very as close to operatic as Blaze ever gets. He gets on this song, and he really, really shines. And I think if you take the two Blaze albums, you take Virus, you take the singles, so you listen to the X Factor, then you listen to the Virus singles that Blaze did and whatnot, then you listen to the bootlegs and stuff that you got with the live performances, and then you listen to this Como Amigos. Did I say that right? I have a hard time with Spanish. My tongue trips over itself. I'll be straight up honest with you guys. Is a beautiful send off to the Blaze Bayley era Iron Maiden. It's a beautiful song. It's sad. It's kind of a tearjerker. I really think this is one of, if okay, we've got, the Ripper era of Priest, we've got the Bush era, but I think Blaze has one of the best final closing songs, if not the best, for any of those singers. I love this song. It's not what you would normally get, but I feel like I've said Stained Class is an artsy album. It's a work of art. This song is a work of art alone. It's beautiful. It's tender. If you've never listened to the Blaze Bayley albums, just stop having that stick up your butt, pull it out, actually listen to them, guys. Actually give them a chance and go listen to them. Yes, he's not Bruce Dickinson. Yes, he's a baritone. Yes, he's not exactly an operatic singer, but you are missing out on this sweet, tender, tear-jerking moment of a song. And I'm sick and tired of hearing these guys talk about what big Maiden fans they are and how big their nuts are, but they're really not, because they slander Blaze Bayley, and these songs are gems, and they're really just the guys that drive around in giant lifted trucks talking about how badass they are, and they're really just macho guys with thin egos. Go listen to these Blaze Bayley songs, guys, and give them an actual chance, because this song is beautiful. 20 out of 10.
Wow. Wow.
I did not expect to unleash that fire, but it just happened, guys.
Okay, so you know what? In order to not detract from Jake's statement whatsoever, his manifesto, I'm just going to say thumbs up, buddy, and pass it over to Harrison, because
Well, first I'm going to talk about something you addressed with Yannick's writing credits. So I'm looking at Brave New World now, and both The Mercenary and Dream of Mirrors are Garth Harris co-writes. So it's probable that if the songs were shuffled around a little, Yannick would have had more co-writes on Virtual 11. Also, just a curiosity, The Nomad is a Murray Harris, which means we almost could have got an unprecedented 3 David Murray co-writes on this album. But even two is rare for Iron Maiden. But anyway, Como Esta, Amigos. I love this song. It's a song which softer parts are just as good as the heavier parts. It's a powerful song musically and lyrically. The gravitas of Blaze's voice is perfect, and he matches the intensity of the song as it goes and increases. It's got an awesome solo with lots going on underneath it musically for you to listen to. And this recurring twin guitar motif is peak.
And that's the album, as they say. Now, Jake said this would have been, one of the most brilliant final tracks. This is Blaze's farewell. This is his swan song with Maiden, but it wasn't intended that way. It was intended for this to keep going and going and going. And they had more projects planned. They had a video game called Melt that later turned into Ed Hunter that they were working on.
I think at this point it would have been Ed Hunter. Melt.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Around the time of Best of the Beast, which was 96,
right.
But
yeah, right. This is 2 years later. So no, you're right. You're right to be pedantic. Yeah, we are definitely working on Ed Hunter at that point, because it's only a year away. So we have a pretty damn good album here, but we'll talk about the B-sides before we wrap things up and talk about the artwork a bit. We have
all live B-sides.
All live B-sides this time. Yeah, okay, from the same gig, recorded live in Gothenburg, January 11th, 1995. So we're talking about the X Factor tour, and we have 4 B-sides here, not including The Angel and the Gambler, the 601 edit. I'm just going to go real quick and talk about these 4 songs, and then I'll hand it off to you guys. First up, we have Blood on the World's Hand live. I said that this song is better live. It has more power, and the bass solo doesn't sound as rinky-dink as it did on the album. Then we have the Aftermath live, and I always like to listen to the song intros. And I don't think Blaze necessarily had the song intro charisma of Bruce Dickinson. I hate to, compare and contrast, but we do have to do that on this show. Something about Bruce Dickinson, "Scream for me," versus, "So let's see ya, come on, come on, come on." Excellent.
Counterpoint, it was a different time. Bruce's intros could sometimes be a bit goofy. Mr. Dave Murray on the famous pink oboe. This was smack bang in the middle of 1995, 1996. So different
Okay,
times.
that's fair, but I will continue. I called the Aftermath solid, but perhaps a bit too slow for the live concert experience. Moving on to a really good, crushing live version of The Evil That Men Do. This is not the official release, not the first official release of a Bruce song sung by Blaze Bayley, but it's a really good choice for these B-sides. I think The Evil That Men Do really kind of became something different with Blaze. He sings it a little different. He messes up a few words in the pre-chorus, but that's okay. I think Bruce probably did too. But to counterpoint Harrison's counterpoint, we have again, "Come on, come on, come on, the evil that men do. Let's see ya." So we're not
counterpoint to your counterpoint to my counterpoint. When he was doing it in South America, he'd often he'd go like, "The evil that men do, incarnated by tonight," as the song was kicking off, and then "Vamos" as it speeds up on its riff.
So Harrison continues to destroy my notes here, which is fine because the last song is "Man on the Edge" from the X Factor, and I just put that as also crushing live. And aside from one other track that's on Best of the Beast, that's pretty much it for official released live stuff with Blaze Bayley on lead vocals. This has an enhanced video of "Man on the Edge" live, which is very nice.
But as far as I'm aware, it's not an actual video performance. It would be I haven't seen it, but would be like a slideshow or a still image. Yes. I don't think there's any filmed live footage released of the song.
I think you're right, but then we have this live version of "Afraid to Shoot Strangers" video filmed on the
that one
did
get a
that
music
is
video.
Live. Yeah. So we have some really cool singles, B-sides, live versions here. Harrison, take it away.
Right, I'll run through them and then I'll pass it off to Jake. So "Blood on the World Hands," I think it's a well-done version of the song. It's not too different from the studio version. I'm glad that the bass solo intro is intact and retained. I'm looking at you, Live Evil, NIB, and I love Nick goes, "Yeah," as it kicks off. He does this all throughout their career. You hear at the start of Where Eagles Dare on the World Peace Tour, and it's always a blast to hear him just scream as he kicks off the song. Right, the Aftermath. I would have preferred something cooler like "The Edge of Darkness," but this is an awesome version of the song. "Man on the Edge," it's a by the numbers Maiden performance, but read into that. What I mean is that it's spectacularly rendered, if not too different from the studio version. That's what I mean by the numbers Maiden. It just means that there's nothing unique to say about it other than it's done really well and not too different from the studio. And "The Evil That Men Do." I really love Blaze's take on this song. I think his dark voice really matches the lyrical content. And there are some versions out there of him where his delivery on "The circle of fire, my baptism of joy at an end it seems," is unreal. But I definitely think there are better versions of him doing this song out there. Particularly, I would recommend "Sao Paulo 1996 as my definitive version.
I really like when he does that chorus, when he does that little twist on it. "The evil that men do lives on and on." I really like just the way he makes it slightly different. Jake, I know you were going to listen to some of these B-sides. Do you have anything you want to add?
I've listened to them all. I don't have it with me. It's in the other room by my CD player because I was listening to it last night, but Harrison turned it on to me. It's on Amazon. It's called the Broadcast Collection, and it has the entire Gothenburg show.
Not the entire show, but it's everything that was broadcast on the radio. Okay. So you don't get "The Edge of Darkness," unfortunately. I'm still trying to find a really good well-recorded live version of "The Edge of Darkness," but I know they played it at that show.
If you find it, pass it my way because this live set, that's the crown jewel on this whole live set, is that Gothenburg show. Blaze is phenomenal.
Yeah, Gothenburg was a hell of it.
Blood on the World's Hands, the bass intro is sick. I'm glad they kept that. Blaze sounds good, but he doesn't sound as deep. He sounds more like he's singing in an operatic style, which I imagine you're transitioning from Bruce songs to your own. Bruce is an operatic singer, so you're probably going to have that more at times.
Blaze would also go on to say that his monitor wedges wouldn't always have exactly what he wanted in them, like that he wanted specifically guitar in the monitor wedges because that's what he uses to pitch his voice to, the guitar. But the monitor guy wouldn't let him have it, and he's just like, well, it's my wedges, I should be able to have what I want in it. And later on the Virtual 11 too, we got in-ear monitors.
On the song, you can hear Blaze you're fine. I love those tidbits. Thank you. Blaze can really sing stuff off in rapid fire, and he proves that. He rattles stuff off rapid fire, and he's a great singer in his own right. He's not the Jeff Tate, the Bruce Dickinson that you people have come to expect. He's a different type of singer.
Nobody's ever criticized Sinatra for not sounding enough like Rob Halford. So
exactly. The Aftermath. I love how you guys are going to hate me because I keep bringing Queensryche up again. But I've seen them over 10 times live. The Aftermath live has a very take hold of the flame live vibe to it. It just has this dark, haunting, like slow burning. And I'm like, ooh, we see the light. I'm like, wait, no, wrong song, guys, wrong song. Sorry, I was getting excited. Todd and Eddie and Whip and Casey and Stoney, they're all going to take this. No, sorry, this is.
I wonder what Blaze would sound singing. Are you going to Scarborough Fair?
Is Eddie going to give me the middle finger again? He usually does when he sees me.
Eddie Jackson gave you the middle finger?
He's given it many times. I'm always like, Eddie freaking Jackson.
Okay, so like, for those who may not be familiar with the channel, the very first interview that I ever did 25 years ago this year was Eddie Jackson from Queensryche. We were doing the live album that they had out at that time. We were covering that, and I did a 1-hour interview with Eddie Jackson. It's on this channel, so check it out. Eddie did not give me the finger. It was a phone interview. If he was giving me the finger, I had no way to know about it.
But yeah, he casually gave me the finger one time. Another time because I've seen him and I plant myself right in front of Eddie. He's my bass hero. Everyone has their heroes. I've met him once and I've told him he's the reason I picked up a bass and whatnot. And he's always, I feel like, remembered me when he sees me. And like one time and then another time he just casually gave me the middle finger, and then he.
Awesome. That's awesome. I love it. And they're a great band.
They are.
That Maiden fans should check out.
I'm sorry I kind of derailed this, but the Aftermath. This is great live. I wish I could have seen it. I wish Maiden would bring it back. Maiden did not tune their guitars even a half step down. They played in their regular key. They didn't slow their tempo down. Priest was down tuning because it was trendy. They had no need to do it for Tim Ripper Owens. I've seen Tim Ripper Owens sing regular tune stuff, standard tuning. I've seen him sing in all sorts of tuning. The guy, and I'm not talking smack about Blaze. No one should ever think that. He's a different singer. A half step down would suit his voice much better. And this was just the era that they were living in. Tim Ripper Owens did not need that to be tuned a half step down, but he made do with whatever they threw at him. Blaze could have sufficed with that half step down tuning, I feel like. Even if it was trendy, it was whatever. I really feel like that was something they should have done to accommodate Blaze. No one really would have noticed. I mean, you would have noticed, but it was the trend, so no one would have been like, Blaze's fault or anything like that. Now we come to where I'm going to lose my privileges to be on Grab a Stack of Rock. The Evil That Men Do. Remember how I said I got into Iron Maiden in 2006? There was another band I got into around 2004, a Dutch symphonic metal band called After Forever. Harrison knows where I'm going with this. Their singer is one Fleur Jensen of Nightwish fame now. They covered The Evil That Men Do on their Exordium EP in 2003. That was the first way I had heard that song. I didn't realize it was an Iron Maiden cover. I have always detested the way Bruce Dickinson sings this song live. I don't mind the studio version, but live, he sounds geezered. He's Dave Mustaine's it. He standing on a razor's edge. He sounds forced. He sounds thin. He sounds flat to me. He sounds like he's having a hard time keeping up with it. Keep in mind now, everyone's like, what the heck are you talking about? Keep in mind now that I am used to hearing, I have been hearing it for 2 years, maybe 3 before I finally heard Bruce. No, it'd been 2 years before I heard Bruce sing it. I have been hearing Fleur sing this song pristinely in both live and on the studio track without issue. And then I hear Bruce and he sounds tired. He sounds stretched. He sounds thin. He sounds haggard. I hate the way this sounds. Every live version I hear with Bruce Dickinson, I love the music, but I do not like Bruce singing it. Blaze, on the other hand, he's got a growl. He's got menace in his voice. He's spitting and snarling a little bit. He's a little bit sloppy. And it's such a far cry from the clean professionalism that Fleur sings it with. I absolutely love this. I've heard, I don't know how many covers of this song, and I love all of them, but I absolutely detest the live versions with Bruce Dickinson on vocals, and I am sorry. Mike just looks like he wants to shoot me for that.
Every time one of us says something like this, Mike is just scratching off ad revenue, and it's like, oh yeah, there come the dislikes.
And I'm gonna get like, someone's gonna send me something in the mail, that hate mail for this, but I am sorry. You guys don't realize what it's like to hear. And I had the biggest crush on Fleur, and she was like my lady at that period. And so, like, you guys don't know what it's like to grow up with that song, hearing her sing that song, and then you hear the live version on Live at Donington as the first time with Bruce Dickinson. And then you hear, is it on live? Yeah, I think it's on live, Rock in Rio. And he just sounds stretched and thin and like he's Dave Mustaining it, and it's on live. He sounds geezer.
Rock in Rio specifically was recorded on the final date of that tour. Bruce is a little huskier, grittier than he would normally be.
Yeah, but every version, and then like, what's the latest?
I know. I'm not attempting to discredit everything you say.
No, he does. It's a reason why. And then, what's the one that they just released, the live album that they?
Well, there's On Vivo and there's Knights of the Dead, both which feature the Evil That Men Do. On Vivo is
Knights of the Dead. He sounds extreme, and I know he just had the cancer treatment and stuff, but he sounds so aged, and he just sounds again geezered. And I'm sorry, guys. I know. I don't like any of the live versions Bruce sings this at, and I feel like every time I listen to it, no, I'm going back to After Forever. I need to redeem this. I need to listen to something that is more appealing to my ears. I'm so sorry. And then you listen to the Seventh Son studio album version with them on it, and it's played slower. And so I don't feel like I'm getting the energy I want from it. And so then I have to go back and listen to the After Forever version again. And so it just creates this vicious circle. I wish I could have been like, oh, I'm hearing it with Bruce Dickinson first. Cool. But that was not how it ended up for me, born in 1990. I stumbled upon After Forever online, and I became obsessed. And then it was just this big train wreck with The Evil That Men Do and Bruce Dickinson. I am so sorry, but I think Blaze Bayley, even on a bad night where he's tripping over his words and snarling and spitting and whatnot, I prefer it to Bruce Dickinson's thin and geezered attempts at the song. And now that I've gone on and made Mike lose all respect for me,
Tell us what you really feel, Jake.
All I'm going to say is, rather than comment on that, is that we've already recorded a whole bunch of episodes. We did Made in England, we did Real Live one, we did Live at Donington, we did Raising Hell. So if you want to hear Harrison and I talk about the evil that men do with Bruce on lead vocals, then there's plenty of episodes for you to check out. So we've let Jake have his time. He's now cut off. And Harrison, this is the part of the show. Yeah. Before we go to Harrison's spotlight moment, though, let's just show this off real quick. This is the only Iron Maiden bootleg that I have with Blaze on lead vocals. And there you go. There's the track.
Mike and I have very differing opinions on this show.
We do, although I've been listening to it lately and not minding it so much. You can see that they do almost the entire album live. But this is where we hand it over to Harrison, who's going to tell us all about Virtual 11 tour. Take it away, Harrison.
Yes. In fact, I'm going to start very briefly with the pre-tour press circuit they did, because there are a couple of interesting occurrences on this thing. So there were 2 TV appearances, specifically Madrid and Stockholm, where they were playing, when I say playing, they were miming The Angel and the Gambler single edit on TV. We've come a bit of a way since playing live on TV. Now they're miming. But anyway, so Yannick's mother was sick, so he had to go. He flew out to see her, and they needed a second guitarist there who kind of looked like Yannick to mime. So they got a man by the name of Tony Newton, who was, I believe, a part of Dirty Deeds at the time, and I believe that they were one of the support acts for Iron Maiden on this tour. So if you search in YouTube Iron Maiden Tony Newton, there's footage of him miming along with Dave Murray there. And this isn't actually the last time that Tony Newton will factor into the Iron Maiden story. However, we're still quite a few years off that. The second thing that happened is that they played a secret warm-up gig at the Oval Rock House in Norwich, billed as The Angel and the Gambler. And this was a gargantuan 26-song set where they played basically everything they'd rehearsed for the Virtual 11 tour, and then everything they'd previously rehearsed for the X Factor. And as Blaze put it in the At the End of the Day book written by Lawrence Patterson, one of his solo drummers, he said, well, with these warm-up gigs, nobody wants to be the person to say, well, I'm done, I'm tired, we got to pack it in now. So everyone just kept going and kept playing until they ran out of songs to play. So that would have been something to see, that 26-song Iron Maiden set. But to the tour itself. Now, all right, so I have conflicting information on the number of the dates. Wikipedia says it was 81 dates. Setlist FM has 87 unique shows on there. Now, sue me, but I didn't go to the Iron Maiden website and count every single one of those 80-plus dates that they have listed there, so I'm going to say it was in the range of 81 to 87, although some of them were cancelled due to Blaze suffering vocal issues. Allegedly, there was something in the stage props that was affecting his voice. Other people have said it was sort of like a pollen allergy. It's unclear, but there were cancelled dates on this tour. Nevertheless, they were still attempting to break new ground. They brought this tour to Turkey and Malta, playing those countries for the first time in their career. And they've returned to the grander stage set of more reminiscent of the 1980s. It was a bit of a castle do with a big inflatable Eddie head based on the Virtual 11 Eddie that would appear during the song Iron Maiden. Now for the set list. Lots of Blaze stuff, plus the usual suspects from the Bruce era. 1 or 2 of them dropped to make room for some more Blaze stuff from Virtual 11, because they played 6 songs from Virtual 11 on the regular, plus with Don't Look to the Eyes of the Stranger being played at 4 dates. There were 4 dates then where they played 7 of the 8 songs from Virtual 11 live in the one show. The only one they didn't play was Como Estais, Amigos. As Mike also held up, that Nancy show there in France, that was one of the songs, one of the shows that they played Don't Look to the Eyes of the Stranger at. It was also one of the songs where they played Murders in the Rue Morgue. They brought that out of retirement for some performances. Blaze in the book said that they brought it out basically because they wanted to play it in France and make sort of a deal. Oh, look, we're playing Murders in the Rue Morgue in France. And they said that they dropped it because they kept messing it up. So it only got played at a few shows at the start of the tour because they did kick off the tour. But for the future, how did Virtual 11 fare in the future? Not great. It's more or less been forgotten outside of the Clansman, which has made sporadic appearances. You know, it was there in Rock in Rio. It was there, I think, on the Headhunter tour. It was brought back out for the Legacy of the Beast tour. Futureal was the only other song that ever got played after the Virtual 11 tour, and it only made it to the Headhunter tour when it was then dropped. We do have a cool official live B-side of Bruce performing Futureal. But now I suppose we're going to kick it over to the cover art. I'm just going to go on record. I said it many years ago, and I'll say it again. This is my favorite Iron Maiden cover art. There's just something about the composition, the colors, and everything. And the fact that you can get it in lenticular as well, one of only 2 Iron Maiden releases that come with a lenticular cover that I'm aware of. You might look at it on screen and be like, yeah, I can't really see the lenticular effect, but there's there are times when the light catches it just right and the whole thing lights up and it's just like amazing to look at. You'll also notice that the lenticular cover, the Iron Maiden logo, is moved a bit to the side there. It does also look like the art zoomed in, but that's because this is the Japanese version where the art is zoomed in because it's a fat case. So they had to basically zoom in to get the art on the sides. But I did mention that Iron Maiden logo. Well, you'll notice that it's looking a little different. It's a bit easier to see on Mike's screen, but all those sharp, pointy ends have been lopped off, and they would go on and use this for the next about 15 years, I think, if more or less, if outside of a few specific exceptions, if memory serves. I have mixed feelings about this logo. I don't mind it. I like how when they put the logo on the side of the CD case, they can make it bigger because it doesn't have those pointy ends. But I do admit, I think that the pointy end logo is the more iconic and superior logo. And if I have my artist correct, this is Melvin Grant making a reappearance.
Correct. Melvin Grant. You can tell by the red bug eyes, really. I'm going to contrast Harrison. This is not one of my favorite Iron Maiden album covers. I like Melvin Grant in general, but this Eddie that he does, I'm not a big fan of it. It kind of resembles the Fear of the Dark Eddie. You can see the rib cage there, and almost like it was coming out of the tree. But you can see kind of similar details to his flesh. Similar face. He's grabbing the young boy who is kind of ensconced in a virtual reality world. He's you can't really see it so much on the lenticular, but he's playing like a virtual reality soccer game. So tying in with the 11 again, the virtual 11. I don't like the new logo. I was very happy when they returned to the what I'm going to call the real Iron Maiden logo. I'm sorry. I like the lenticular. You can see a little bit of the movement of the hand around the boy's headphones there. You can see how that works. Let's do that a couple more times. There we go. Sorry. I like the color. I like the composition, the things that you mentioned there, but I don't like the actual image of Eddie grabbing the kid with the virtual reality headset in the soccer field. It's just not an image that means anything to me. Sorry. Jake, any thoughts?
Well, this is not this with Jessica Rabbit's big badonkadonk on there.
It's not.
But what we have here is like, you guys have covered it so well. Eddie's head splitting open, his brain popping out, and like the ribs and the organs and the souls being pulled, and like ruined city landscape on fire. I was 16 when I picked this up.
You can see the ruined city a lot better on Jake's copy than with the lenticular.
Yeah.
So yeah, with Jake's you get a lot more of that.
Yeah.
This
Due
is
to
like
the nature of how the lenticular works, the lenticular cover is a little more pixelated when you look at it. You can particularly tell when you look at the actual Virtual 11 logo.
This is everything a 16-year-old boy that was big into Gears of War and Doom 3 and Halo and Silent Hill. This is everything that kid. This is like, yeah, this tripped my trigger back then. I mean, would it trip my trigger now? I don't know, but it tripped my trigger when I was 16 years old and I loved it. I I think it's phenomenal. If I had to rank Eddie's, this one comes in at the top for me, somewhere in the top 5 or 6. I mean, it's no bring your daughter to the slaughter Wicker Man. I mean, I love those two, but this one's right up at the top for me. I mean, I love it.
Well, one thing about these episodes is that we always pick the right guest for the album. So Jake has brought us his love of most of the things associated with this album.
I think the album art I like more than the actual album itself. I think the album art is better than the album.
Okay. Well, that brings us to that point of the show where we have to provide a rating for the album. And I think I'm going to go 7.5 out of 10 for Virtual 11. 7.5 out of 10. Harrison.
Right. Though it doesn't have as strong and unique identity as the X Factor, I like it pretty much the same. I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which is blasphemous. I know to say I'm ranking it above Power Slave and Peace of Mind, but I am just in love with this album and everything to do with it.
And Jake.
I had to go back to rank this. I had to go back and look at what I had given you guys for Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind. And I was like, man, that car accident really knocked it out of me, because I really did not remember those comments and stuff. And some of those episodes, when I rewatched them, I didn't even remember watching some of that. But I give it a 7, which is what I gave Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind. I think it fits in nicely with that quality of music. It fits in. I would get that same quality. It's got the same peaks and valleys as I would give Number of the Beast and Peace of Mind. I think I liked it a lot better when I first got it. It's sandwiched between two great albums. Brave New World's my favorite Maiden album, and I love, depending upon the day, I'd rank X Factor as my second or third favorite Maiden album. So, I mean, it's sandwiched between greatness and greatness for me. A 7 is what I give it.
Okay. So we have a 7, 7.5, and a 9 out of 10.
I mean, to be on brand, I should probably give it an 11, but yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you, folks, for joining us for this very special episode on Virtual 11. Oh, you know what? One minor detail that I'm going to add before we check out. When we first received the press release for this album in Canada, and we were told some early details about what the album was going to be called, they spelled the album name wrong. It came out in the initial press release, not as Virtual 11, but as Virtual Z. Vartual Z. Capitals X, lowercase I. That's not how you spell 11, so we called it Virtual Z until we learned that was a typo and it's Virtual 11. So, fun fact from the Canadian retail world. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please
did it come out in Toronto first?
Oh, Harrison, that's an old inside joke. Please like us. Please subscribe. Hey, if you want to support the show, we have Grab a Stack of Rock merch that you can get on tpublic.com, and you can look cool like me. Thanks, folks. We will be back with 50 Years of Iron Maiden. We have some big stuff coming ahead with Wrathchild 99 at the Ed Hunter video game and tour. So that's all coming up very soon on Grab a Stack of Rock and 50 Years of Iron Maiden. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Harrison. Have a wonderful night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you guys so much for having me for these 2 albums.
Take care.